Welcome to the dialogue.
In this episode of the Dialogue podcast, we're featuring ALF Senior Fellow Usha Srinivasan of Class 42. Usha is the founding CEO and president of Mosaic America, a nonprofit strengthening diverse communities through collaborative, multicultural arts. Usha shares a reading of her contribution to Making Waves AAPI Voices, a project of ALF Silicon Valley's AAPI Caucus. Through this project, the group looks to share the experiences of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders with the ALF network and broader community.
I grew up in a traditional lower middle class family in southern India, at a time when girls were raised to be dutiful daughters and sisters, wives and mothers. While it wasn't uncommon for women to work outside the home, when they did, it was mostly in roles that were deemed to be women's work. And this may well have been my life's trajectory if it weren't for a horrific tragedy: the death of my aunt at the hands of her abusive husband. This was a wake-up call that jolted my parents into re-examining their plans for me and my sister. So instead of acquiring skills like sewing and cooking to enhance our marriage prospects, we were encouraged to chart our own path to independence. I chose to pursue electrical engineering as an undergraduate and then had the opportunity to come to the US for graduate education on a research assistantship. My decision to come to the US was fairly uncomplicated. I wasn't looking to leave India and become American. I was simply seeking to further my professional education at an excellent institution with a full ride. And that just happened to be far away from home. Like many others from India who came here as students, I had what is called the N+1 syndrome. I told myself that I'd return home when I'd achieved my next goal. Except the goalposts kept moving. After I graduated with my master's, I took a trip to India to marry my husband, whom I've known since I was 17, returned to the US to take up a job in Dallas, which helped me get a green card. And then I decided I wanted to go to business school, which brought me here to Silicon Valley. After graduating, I settled into a career in high tech. I cruised along, pursuing professional achievement and financial stability, all the while thinking that at some point I'd go back home. Meanwhile, the India that I had left behind and thought I'd return to had transformed quite radically. Also, my grandparents and others of that generation had passed on, which freed up my parents and in-laws to come visit us for extended periods of time. We bought a home, welcomed pets, started a family, and soon became citizens. While I'd accepted that I'd never be going back home to India for good, I didn't yet feel the need to invest in making this place my home. And that changed in 2012. When I gave up my corporate career to take on consulting, which really fit better with my life circumstances. One day in 2012, my daughter came home from middle school and very animatedly was telling us something that transpired. And she said, "Amma, there is this Asian kid in my class." And I was perplexed and I said, "What do you mean Asian kid? You do realize India is in Asia, right?" And she rolled her eyes and explained to me that Asian meant Far East Asian or Southeast Asian. And then we talked more about the different kinds of Americans in her class. She talked about Mexican Americans, Desis or South Asians, and so on. And then I asked her, "Who is American in your class?" And she said, "Oh, well, that would be Isabella." And then she corrected herself and said, Isabella and her parents are only here for a couple of years from Ireland. And that really left me gobsmacked. I was just amazed that this child of mine, who's born right here in Santa Clara, was self-hyphenating but conferring the all-American identity on someone who's really a foreigner, based entirely on the way they looked. This conversation set me on a path of introspection, exploration, and discovery around notions of identity and belonging in America in general, and in Silicon Valley in particular. And it led me to co-found a nonprofit, Mosaic America, with my partner and fellow Indian immigrant, Priya Das. Our mission at Mosaic America is to cultivate belonging and foster social cohesion here in Silicon Valley. Before we embarked on this journey, Priya and I spent a considerable amount of time learning about, unpacking, analyzing the many factors that have contributed to the lack of belonging and cohesion. Some of these are not unique to us. Across America, many places have seen a decline in community involvement. As Robert Putnam warned in 2000 in his book Bowling Alone, the very fabric of our connections with each other has plummeted, impoverishing lives and communities. The rise of remote work and social media are among the long list of culprits. Here in Silicon Valley, large demographic shifts over a short period of time have resulted in cultural siloing, people living in immiscible enclaves as hyphenated Americans. But Priya and I were convinced, based on our own experience growing up in India, that the very cultural complexity that seemed so daunting could actually be a powerful force for uniting people in place across divides. And over the past 8 years, through experimentation and iteration, we have developed a thoughtful, intentional approach to creating shared experiences in place through intercultural, co-created arts and dialogue. We've activated public spaces, parks, museums, libraries, community centers in over 6 Silicon Valley cities, and featured over 250 artists and culture bearers representing 60 traditions. Our annual Mosaic Festival was recognized by the City of San Jose with a Creative Impact Award last year. We work with a wide range of community organizations, city and county agencies to scale our impact. 3 years ago, we embarked on an ambitious public digital humanities initiative called the Mosaic Atlas, funded by Hewlett Foundation and in partnership with San Jose State University. We've mapped over 120 culturally distinct communities of the Bay Area. We've identified assets and resources that are rooted in these communities. These include cultural practices, leaders, culture bearers, artists, and institutions that serve them. We believe that the Mosaic Atlas will expand the ability of arts and culture organizations, local governments, and social service organizations to create programs that are responsive to the needs of diverse communities. Mosaic has come a very long way in a short time, and we are just getting started. If you would like to learn more about our work, volunteer with us, or contribute in other ways, please visit our website at mosaicamerica.org. You can also reach me at usha@mosaicamerica.org, and I look forward to hearing from you.
ALF joins and strengthens diverse leaders, creating and supporting networks for good. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. and encourage you to subscribe to the dialogue on iTunes or SoundCloud. To learn more about ALF, visit us online at alfsv.org.
This podcast was made possible by the ALF Silicon Valley Network, with a special thanks to our Leadership Circle members and the 2024 Exemplary Leadership Celebration premier sponsors, ALF Class 14, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, HP Inc., Silver Lake, Adobe Inc., Salesforce, and Destination Home. Thank you.